All right, boys, let's go.
Jimmy, you're not Jimmy. Where is
No, I'm
Jimmy, everybody? We don't know. He is missing in action.
What's up, guys? I was supposed to be back in the On the Water office today to record this offshore report with Cheech, but as it turns out, I was down here in Virginia for a couple days fishing for cobia, which is awesome, and I can't wait to do more of that. But ended up they canceled my flight last night, so I'm still down here. Didn't translate into any extra fishing time, just a lot of headache. So our assistant to the editor, Matt Hefner, is going to fill in for this week's report.
His typical unreliable self. I mean, we delayed recording this offshore report because Jimmy was down in Virginia Beach. I did manage to catch a little bit of an offshore scuttlebutt report that he got firsthand. He said the tuna fishing off Virginia Beach has not been good. And that was corroborated by huge Vikings and other offshore sporties, battle wagons, all in on that inshore bull redfish bite and cobia bite that Jim was fishing himself. So, other than that, filling in is Matt Hafner. You probably recognize him from the Striper season update reports he's been doing. What's going on, Matt? How you doing?
Not much, man. It's good to be here talking something different. 14 weeks of Striper migration reports. You get a little tired of talking the same thing. I mean, obviously, it's been a lot of fun covering the migration. As those Stripers have made their way up from the Chesapeake and all the way up to Maine now, and we're kind of settling into the summer. But it's fun to kind of switch things up, talk offshore, talk tuna and mahi and everything else that's going on down there.
And we're not far away from ICAST. Coming up, which is going to have us down in Orlando learning about all the new offshore stuff that we can come back and talk about. So for that one, we're going to actually have Matt and Andy Nabreski kind of fill in for Jimmy and I. So, good little segue to some new faces that will reappear in a couple weeks here, thanks to Jim's unreliability. On the Water's Offshore Report is brought to you by Sirius XM Marine and Fish Mapping. Right now, they have a $300 rebate. It's good through June 30th. Purchase a new receiver, subscribe to Fish Mapping by July 31st, and you will be qualified for a $300 rebate from Sirius XM Marine and Fish Mapping. On the Water's Offshore Report is also brought to you by Garmin Marine Electronics and Canyon Runner. So, Matt, you want to kick it off down south with some reports that you got from some of your contacts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been in touch with these guys from his name's Taylor Backey. He runs a crew of fish anglers down on out of Ocean City. They go by Always Been Fishing OC. They've been actually tuna fishing since mid-May now, and they brought in, I believe it was the first yellowfin that was recorded this year back into Ocean City. They were fishing aboard the full service out of Ocean City, so that was really cool to see. They worked pretty hard for that fish, but and more recently they've been on some mahi. Taylor told me that they've seen bluefish and blue marlin and white marlin out there. They said the yellowfin bite has kind of pushed inshore a little bit. They're finding fish everywhere from, late last week. They were able to get out to the Wilmington before this wind really picked up. And they're finding yellowfin and a mix of bluefin, including some stud yellowfin up to about 120 pounds closer to home around the Norfolk. So things are definitely heating up down there. I think it's been slow, like we said, because of the wind this past week. But, late last week, it sounded like they ended on a good note down there.
Yeah, anytime, it's not often you hear of fish of that class on the yellow. So if that's what's happening, that's awesome. Thanks for that. And I want to kind of segue into a little further north. Some reports coming in from Fisherman's Supply Company out of Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. The last weather window, anglers did really well in the toms and the linen coal for big eyes and yellowfin. That's a theme that we're going to hear pretty consistently through the Canyon Runner report and amongst, all the anglers leaving out of the Jersey area. They had shots at extra large yellowfin on top, and the midshore hills, the fish were really picky, but they were there. So there's also tons of life inshore east of Little Italy, which is blanketed with sand eels on the surface. They heard rumors of bluefin in there, and there's also been reports of a great inshore cobia bite a little closer to home than Jimmy was fishing in Virginia Beach, which has been reliable with fish to 40 to 60 pounds. Also, from the Fisherman's Supply Company, tile fishing has been excellent. There's been Goldens in Hudson Canyon, and the jumbo blue lines have been in Linden Cole Canyon. So tile fishing has been great. It's a good kind of backup plan for a
100%.
tuna mission, right?
100%.
You're always kind of playing that game of, hey, if we don't, get on the red meat, what's the fallback plan so we can get some fish on ice, salvage the trip, right?
Right, and last week you had the Canyon Runner report, which touched on that a little bit. Out in Hudson Canyon, I think there was mention of you can get tuna year round out there, but it's a great backup plan for a lot of guys. They're going out there, and they've been doing really well for golden and blue tile fish since I would say since mid-May. It sounds like. So.
Yeah, the tile fishing has been good. We checked in with Mike Gleason over Tack Waterman. He said the tuna fishing seems to be improving with unders moving west. Always a good sign. The heavy winds have plagued everybody. Somebody needs to turn this fan off. This is getting ridiculous. But yellowfin are definitely starting to push into the midshore grounds, which is awesome news. The bait is there to hold them. It's loaded with bait. Hopefully that's a recipe that's going to set us up for an amazing summer on the yellowfin side of things. The Canyon Runner Sport Fishing Team is here to help you catch fish. They offer coaching and concierge services, seminars, and a virtual captain system which will exponentially help you increase your catches inshore, midshore, and out to the canyons. With a major focus on midshore and inshore tuna from Cape Cod in North Carolina, their virtual captain system serves as your co-captain, providing all the fish catching and safety intel, including a built-in warning system and more. Gives you the ability to track over 400 member boats and 15 Canyon Runner Pro Staff boats in real time. How's that for a buddy boat network? Check them out at canyonrunner.com. Canyon Runner is going to take things over here and give us a full report up and down the offshore grounds, the inshore grounds from their 400-plus network of boats that have been out fishing in between this vicious wind that we've been dealing with. So take it away, Canyon Runner. What have you been seeing out there, guys?
All right, Jimmy and Cheech, we're on to week 2 here of the season. Things actually got pretty interesting this week. Probably one of the busiest days we'll see all year. We'll dig down into that in a little bit. On Wednesday, we had about 45 boats out, so we'll really drill down on that day. But just overall, we've got good fishing all the way up through P-Town up here. You can see a couple of our members' boats are up working this way. And we got great fishing off Cape Cod right through here. So let's drill down. Let's start from south to north once again. So down south, we've got a really weird phenomenon going down. What we have is edge of water all the way out here. There's kind of a little bit of a bubble in the Gulf Stream. Beautiful, warm, 75, 78-degree water out in 1,200 to 1,500 fathoms. And every day there seems to be one boat that gets lucky because every boat's seeing yellowfin on top. They're on top. You see 2, 3, 5 schools of yellowfin a day. They get you you're right under your riggers, don't even get a bite. Every day someone's getting a bite. So you get this monster report. One boat had 5 whites and I think 12 yellowfin. Another day someone had 10 yellowfin. Another day someone had 13 yellowfin. Everyone's seeing whites, but most boats are getting 0 or 1. And then as you come up in on the bank, you start to see the same phenomenon. You're not seeing the fish on top anymore, but we had one member do an overnighter down in the Washington. Late in the evening, caught 2 on the troll. Early in the morning, caught 4 on the troll. Everyone else that day, all around the Washington, another 20 boats, basically, everyone had 0s or 1s. So what we feel is as soon as all these yellowfin that are out here in 1,200, 1,500 fathoms start migrating inshore, and they will, it's going to start to go off down here, and that's what we're waiting for. In short, in the 42 years the Canyon Runner has been doing offshore charters, every year, 90% of the yellowfin we catch are shallower than 100 fathoms. When we see them out here up on top, we just can't catch them. As soon as they move inshore, we catch them. And that's something we're going to highlight as we get up to the north because they've already started migrating inshore. So we had a couple interesting trips up in this area. We'll start offshore first and go inshore. One of the most interesting was let's go to Wednesday. We're going to move to Wednesday's map. This is just on the 19th. As you can see, start day and end date is Wednesday. So this was 45 boats fishing. We had one of our pro staff in here looking for a big eye. They had Martin Truex Jr., the NASCAR race driver, out with them. This is Wolfpack Tackle, one of our pro staff for years, great partner, fished with us, we fished with them. They're out here trying out some of their new tackle, and they had one thing in mind. We got to catch Martin, a big eye. He hasn't caught one yet. So this is their trip. If you go on you could actually see the wolf pack on this trip. This is their track line for the 19th. They fished through to the 20th. So let's go to the 20th. We hit apply. We see their whole track line for the trip. So their idea here was, we weren't yellowfin fishing, we're big eye fishing. It's what we do in tournaments. When we're fishing tournaments, we stay deep. And their track line this whole trip was in the deep, the traditional big eye spots of the Linden Col. And you could see they just beat it up. This was during the evening, this is the morning. And they got it done. Typically, as with these big eyes, we catch, again, you want to hear a number, we catch probably 80 to 90% of our big eyes from about 2 hours before sunset to 2 hours after. Same thing in the morning, same issue. Maybe we catch 10 to 15% of them between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., but all that's during that big eye magic hour, they got it done. Martin got a great fish. What also happened on Wednesday, if I open it up to see all the members' track lines, is we had folks up and down the coast. Same activity here, but let's work our way back inshore. What we had last week was really good fishing out in these canyons, from the Toms Canyon down to the Washington. The day the Wolfpack had their fish, there was probably 8 big eyes caught out of here. The Canyon Runner 2 days before, on a Monday to Tuesday overnighter, we had 3 big eyes out of the Toms. There were more big eyes probably caught. In fact, not probably, I think almost certainly there were more big eyes caught in this stretch than actually yellowfin. But there were some decent trips. There was a couple other very good charter boats, had double-digit yellowfin, some longfin, some big eyes. Like I said, we had half a dozen yellowfins, 3 or 4 longfins, 3 big eyes on a trip. It was good. That was Monday, Tuesday. Everybody found out this was Wednesday. Wednesday, this is a theme you'll hear all year. When it's too crowded, it's just not going to happen. And Wednesday was just too crowded. There was probably 100 boats from the Toms Canyon down to the Spencer Canyon that day, and nothing really went on. Moving inshore quickly, all these dots here. This is Sea Isle Ridge. The Sea Isle Ridge is so close to the beach. Days you can fish it when you can't fish anywhere else. And there's tuna there. The problem is it's a first light, really gray light. Before that sun gets over the horizon, people are getting bites. But if you get 20 boats there, you get 1 or 2 boats with a bite. But it's so close, there's no reason not to do it. What we want to focus on here, and what we have focused on here, is, look, this is Sea Isle Ridge, this lump right here. But the fish just aren't on this lump. They're bluefins. These fish will be in the Mediterranean in like 6 months. They move everywhere. They move 100 miles in a day. One of our other pro staff, the Restless Lady, was out here during the Tuna and Tiaras tournament a week and a half ago, and there's too many boats on this lump, so they just bounced to another lump. One of these other smaller lumps, they pulled the winning tuna out of there. Don't get stuck with the fleet, folks. You heard me say about offshore what happened. Same thing in here. You get to Sea Isle Ridge, and there's 20, 30 boats there, just move to another lump. All right, let's go back to the satellite map, and I'm going to actually put the fathom line on here because it's something we want you to see. So this line right here is our 30 fathom line. This line has seen all the bait that you want to see, all the action, whale feeds, whale life that we haven't seen in, I could say, a decade. I mean, it's unbelievable amount of life. And if you look at this 30 fathom line, this is, if you look at our map, you pull up the wrecks, the Haskell wreck is right here. There has been a bite here now for about 2 weeks. Now, it's not a great bite, but here's the interesting thing. The last time boats got out here, and we've had some really bad weather. So these reports I'm giving you really stop around Friday, I think, was the last time we had a boat out. Saturday, Sunday, the weather was just terrible. So these were the latest reports we have are from Friday of last week. But we had a boat in here, one of our pro staff, there wasn't a lot of boats here, started to catch yellowfin. So the yellowfin were in on the 30 fathom line. Not a lot, they had a few, but that's how it starts. Like the school of yellowfin sent the scouts out, and these folks caught fish right here. You go back up the 30 line. This is the Coimbra area in here. It wasn't good last week, but it was good 2 weeks ago. And then if you look here, what has been good and consistently good is right around the Ranger wreck, the CIA grounds, and the inner butterfish hole. This has all been good in here. And you can look at what's consistent about this. 30 fathom line, 30 fathom line, 30 fathom line. The same thing, this line runs all the way out here. We need guys spending more time in here. And we've had some members in here looking. And there, you can see there's constantly boats going in and out, and there's fish being seen on top, but we need to have a little bit more pressure. Then again, why actually have the pressure? Let's go back to the map for the whole week. That was just Wednesday. If we go out, here's guys working here. There's a lot of guys going in and out, in and out. Why actually put the pressure here if you can get over here? Because out here on the inshore grounds, Cox Ledge, let's see, we've got Crab Ledge, I'm sorry, and the Regal Sword, and all these areas in here. If you look at the NOAA chart, we could take the wrecks off and you could just see all these areas in here. I mean, it is excellent fishing, outstanding fishing. The boat should be out there. You should be fishing. There's no reason not to. It's a little earlier than we would suspect that we would anticipate the fishing to be this good, but all up and down this line, it's good for schoolies. It's good for overs. It's good for giants. The best area for giants is up here though. Traditionally, and this boat's going to fish up here all this week. This was, I believe, on Sunday. There's just great giant fishing. There's guys dedicated to this that are catching 3 a day. The last place we'll touch on, we're going to go back offshore now before we finish up. And you can see the concentration in the canyons offshore here within range of all you folks from, Cape Cod, Nantucket, all in here. West Atlantis, a little bit west Atlantis, a little bit east of West Atlantis. I mean, that's it. That's the concentration. We did have one member go out, start and block to look around because there's a big eddy out here. The best water formation we've seen of the year is this monster eddy right here. It's influencing the Gulf Stream. It's pulling Gulf Stream water up. This is was the northwest quadrant of it. They wanted to start here. It just wasn't happening. They moved their way over here and did really well. Right now, though, the real interesting thing is with perfect water, 72 degrees, all the good stuff you want, there's really no yellowfins. But what happened towards the middle of the week last week, and we saw one day where I think 7 yellowfins, up to 10 yellowfins were caught in a day, way inshore here on the Ranger, way inshore on the 30 fathom mark. So it seems like the yellowfins have migrated inshore in pretty early, and it should really be a good season once this wind lays down. Like we said, we didn't have the weather Saturday, Sunday, so these reports are a few days old, but it looks like we got some good weather coming into this week. We anticipate a great week. Stay in touch. Hope all's well. Jimmy and Cheech, thanks a lot again. See you guys soon. Take care.
Pretty comprehensive report coming from the Canyon Runner. Again, thank you guys for that. Awesome stuff as always. Matt, you have any plans to get out offshore?
I'd like to. It seems like every time I'm offered to get out, I've been talking to Ben Sussman, who actually just wrote an article for our most recent the offshore issue of On the Water, and he, he's a West Coast guy that's brought some of his West Coast tactics and stuff to the East Coast. Been talking with him, hoping to get out next Tuesday, although I don't know if that's going to work out. Just scheduling conflicts and stuff like that, but. Trying to get out there.
Yeah,
you know the struggles. You got kids, so
it's not easy.
Yeah.
I actually did make it out. I got out Saturday, and we decided to kind of take advantage of the reports coming in on Friday of Crab Ledge going bananas.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the most sensible play, and you know how I am when it comes to tuna fishing. I always kind of want to do it my way, on my terms. I knew there was a troll bite out there. I knew there was a bait bite too. It kind of switched over from a troll bite to a bait bite, but I heard there were guys that were setting up on these fish and jigging, and that's great grounds for that kind of get a floater under a balloon with a live mackerel on there, get one maybe 75, 80 feet down on a balloon, and let those things go to work and work the Ronzis. And, that's a great way to fish because you can still get that kind of jig bite to happen, and you always have the fallback of bait. So that was kind of my playbook, but being an early season trip, you always want to cover all the bases. I had the speed jig and stuff. I had live bait stuff, obviously. I was with my best friend from home, Ed Hood, and his dad, Ed Hood Sr., and his buddy. We covered some ground. We worked the entire Crab Ledge area. Heard of a couple bites from a good friend, Cam Crocker, that a buddy boat of his got a couple on the jig.
Nice.
So, I went in there in about 140 feet of water, and there were whales, there were herring on the bottom, there was mackerel everywhere. We saw some porpoises. I rode by another guy, Mark Seiler, who I'm friendly with, that is actually the Suzuki rep. And I saw him fishing by himself in his boat, and he was right in that same feed. He was trolling. He ended up catching a fish about, I don't know, maybe within the hour I passed him, and we set up with the bait and the Ron Z's going, and didn't even mark a fish. We might have marked maybe a total of 3 single fish all day. The moon really shut that bite down.
Oh, I
and
can imagine.
That was the word throughout the fleet, that it was really tricky. So there were a lot of boats concentrated in that area. So we tried to slink off and kind of get out on some good life on our own to make it happen. But I didn't see a tuna fish the entire day. We pointed, towards the Regal Sword and headed in that direction. Same kind of impact on the mood there with the tides being so strong. And I kind of had something in my back pocket I wanted to try for some halibut. So we hit some halibut grounds. That put some haddock in the box. It put some big Acadian redfish in the box. So everybody came home with some fresh fish. We did not catch a tuna. We did, however, get a nice poor beagle on the floater when we were out in that, the ground fishing territory near the Sword, which, gave us a little bit excitement. We let that guy go to live another day, although they are delicious. So it was a frustrating day. There were very few bites to go around, but if you committed to the bait bite, you seemed to kind of work your way into a bite. Checked in with Monahan's Marine Captain Connor, gave us a report. He was out Saturday. He was inshore. He was in Cape Cod Bay. He hooked a giant. It did come unbuttoned. There's been a lot of large commercial-sized fish in those typical inshore grounds where you get whiting on the bottom, inside Cape Cod Bay. 160 feet, 170 feet seems to be the ticket inshore, and it's been productive. Like Canyon Runner reported, the giant bite's been good, and he's also gotten word from Middle Bank to Northwest Corner. Even the Northeast Corner of Stellwagen has been super productive, primarily a bait bite. Mostly commercial-sized fish. There's been some unders in the mix. There's been some small fish spotted, but they were moving quickly. Nobody got a hook in those top water feeds that they saw flash for a little bit. And then moving on further north, we had a comment in last week's report from Southern Yankee Custom Upholstery, probably 5480. Saw your comment. Really sought out a report for the northern grounds. We do want to cover as much of that Virginia to Maine territory as possible. So I checked in with Joe from Fisherman's Outfitter in Gloucester, and he reported as far as the northern grounds go, that the southern and western sides of Jeffries have been the best for that area. The best bet there has been fishing bait as well. It's a pretty common theme. Bait's been the ticket for a lot of areas, and there hasn't been much surface activity. But guys that have been setting up on both the edge and on the high ground out in Jeffries they've been seeing results. They've been getting some fish, mostly commercial-sized fish. Yep. And then further inshore from Newburyport north, if you see pogie schools, fish them. Stick with them as long as you can. You have a great shot at seeing giants crash in those schools. That sets you up for a troll bite as well. So if you want to cover ground, if you see, pogie schools in those inshore grounds from Newburyport north, all of the ledges off of Maine, keep a spinning rod at the ready. You definitely could get a shot. It's going to happen quick. Those fish seem to be coming in, crashing the pogie schools, and then moving on. If you want to cover some ground, he told me that there's been a troll bite around those pogie schools. The ticket's been bars. Deep divers like the Nomad DTX and the Rapala X-Raps have produced. And inshore was solid last week, but it seems to have slowed a little bit with those pogie schools kind of dissipating a bit. Further north, he hasn't heard too much. Iowa Shoals area, he said the bait has been great, and everyone's been marking fish in waves, which tells us that it seems like the tuna are on the move and still haven't really settled in yet. So once they settle in, they'll be accessible close to home from all northern ports, and we'll keep our finger on the pulse up there as best we can from week to week. He echoed the same news that we heard from Monahan's on Stellwagen, with the northwest corner and the northeast corner being most productive. And there's really been 3 classes of fish out there. It's been that 65-inch class, then it jumps up to the 80-inch class, and then you're seeing some much bigger fish in the 100, 105-inch class. So, we got things happening earlier than usual.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's just going to be a matter of time until they settle in. And if we can get a little break from this wind, then we'll be good. And the last little tidbit from the northern grounds has been rumors of 40 to 50-inch wreckfish spotted busting bait off of Cape Elizabeth, Maine. West Cod Ledge area. I haven't been able to unearth any confirmed catches from fish of that class in those Maine waters, but I'm sure that's only a matter of time. Last year we didn't see a ton of wreckfish up there, so to have them kind of wreaking havoc inshore like that early, hopefully they find the bait. There's bait everywhere, which is an awesome sign.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that kind of materializes. So, weekly segment on the Facebook side of things. Again, coming from the Northeast Offshore Pelagics Reports page, James Hunt posted 3 days ago. Started out today's plan of running around until we found the life. They went south. They stopped at the Claw for some birds and trolled for an hour with no avail. Pushed further south to the dump and got into a school of small bluefin almost instantaneously. All from work in the east edge. They found 71-degree water out there. The bites were on ballyhoo and purple side trackers. These were small fish, and it was consistent with a lot of the rumors for the dump area. So great way to start out the first trip of the year, he said, and we'll get a picture up of their trip and the size fish they had. Very small wreck fish, fun-sized fish. Fish if you encounter, you could do anything you wanted with, catching them in bass gear, throwing flies at them.
Yep.
That class of 35, 40-inch fish allows you to do some fun stuff if you encounter them.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I talked to my buddy Connor Swartz over at Red Top Sporting Goods, and he actually got out with Joe D'Agostino, Joe Bags, last week, and they made the run all the way to the Ranger, and didn't find a ton of life. They marked a few fish. They marked a few very big fish, but what they ended up catching was those fish you were just talking about, those 35 to 40-inch class bluefin, and they had a knockdown on the troll. I think Connor was very surprised by the amount of energy that his little fish had, but he sent me a photo of it, and it's definitely that football class of bluefin that you're talking about.
Yep. So the last thing I want to do is kind of take a look at that, at the fish mapping app on my phone here. I want to take a look at that Atlantis area that has been super productive on out on the edge, and I'm going back to 6/21, and I want to look at some of the contributing factors for what kind of has that bite firing off. And I'm going to toggle on the fish mapping recommendations for tuna. I'm going to look at the sea surface temperature contour lines, and I want to also look at the currents. So get that toggled on. So you can see, going back to the 21st, right in that West Atlantis area, you got plenty of areas that are targeted for tuna. But what you can see is that eddy is really kind of spinning right in off that. And you'll see as you go more real time, you can see that kind of really develop. And we just go to our calendar, toggle that on, and you can see that 71-degree water is just kind of creeping through the West Atlantis Canyon area. And as you zoom in, you can see how with the currents, it's kind of just hanging out there spinning. And we'll go a little more closer to real time, and I want to show you how that kind of moves and gets more dramatic on that tuna bite really kind of firing off. There's also a swordfish patch in there that recommends being in that area if you're going to do that. You can just see how the current is spinning around that 71-degree water, right 71.6, it breaks down to 69.8 right on the canyon, and that's where the most productive zone has been. But if you jump in here, I'm looking at the 68-degree water. You see that right there, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
See how it kind of kicks right into the inshore ground, south of Block, south of the vineyard. That's where I want to make my next trip if I do have a window to get out Friday.
Yep.
It's a little earlier than we found that bite, but that 68-degree water is pushing right up into 66.5-degree water. You can see right on these contour edges, and it is meeting that 30-fathom contour line. You're going to find 180 feet of water right there. That's always been a productive contour line. Typically, that bite happens starting off as a troll bite, but all last summer it was like a mixed bag of jigfish, yellowfin, and bluefin. And I think with the reports of yellowfin moving to the west pretty dramatically, we might see some earlier yellowfin fishing than we saw last year, hopefully. But I guarantee you that's going to establish a really good bite south of the vineyard, south of Block Island. when guys have been able to get out there, there has been plenty of life. There has been fish. So as that water warms, you'll start to see the bluefin and yellowfin mix in there, and hopefully they set up shop for the summer. I mean, with the sound of it, the amount of bait that we've had up and down, our coverage area, it's been phenomenal. So if the bait holds, the fish will stay there, and you just take a look at some of the factors that will key you in to where the bite is going to be best, and you're going to have options from pretty much any port, and hopefully there'll be concentrations of fish in so many areas that it kind of dissipates the fleet a little bit.
Yeah.
Because crowds are bad. Like, you get in a crowded area, everybody has always been saying, hey, go off and find that same scenario away from the fleet, and you have a better chance of getting that bite as opposed to being lucky and getting, sharing the however many bites there are to go around with the rest of the fleet. So it's good to kind of look at that stuff. That would be my recommendation if you're leaving from, Cape Cod area down to the Rhode Island area. I think that looks really good. I expect that to pop off Friday, Saturday, but there's plenty of options. So bottom line is, guys, if you get a window, get out, fish hard. Don't be scared to make a report instead of chasing reports. And let us know what you're seeing out there. We love to get the feedback from all you guys. And thanks for listening to another Offshore Report. I'm Cheech signing off.
I'm Matt Hefner.
We'll see you. Catch them up, guys.